Hey guys, I am recording this. I'm door dashing, so this might actually have several little segments because I'm recording this in between deliveries. Um, Something to share with you, and it's all about my mental space. No one's has nothing to do with anybody else. It's just about me, right? I know I'm going to show this to Shama first, for the simple fact that while she knows most of what I'm about to say, there are some little bits and pieces that's probably going to be like a little key for her. And for the rest of you, you guys are learning more about me. Simple as that. But it's also important that I get this out and share this because I'm struggling with it, to be honest. So we've got to kind of start at the beginning. Um, as many of you know, I moved around as a child a lot. It was not uncommon for me to be in two. I was in the same school for until about middle of third grade, and then between third grade and seventh grade, I was in multiple schools every year. And I didn't know it then, but I know it now. You know, some schools are a little bit better than others, some aren't. So in some cases, I was ahead of the class. A lot of cases, I was behind in the class. Back in my day, they didn't really acknowledge ADHD. It was boys being boys, give them the paddle, fuck them up, discipline them, they'll do right. So I was bored. I didn't do shit. I got in trouble a lot. Um, and my grades were shit. Um, I spent a full grade in eighth grade at a school. After that, my parents pulled me and did in-home schooling. We could do that because we were fishermen and therefore qualified underneath the same standards back then as farmers and other people that have seasonal lifestyles. And it's because of our commercial fishing stuff. And so I was pulled. Now, some good news. I finished high school in 2 years. Bad news. And it's something that I'm just starting to actually realize after all. I'm 54 years old. I'm just now going, oh, duh. In-home schooling back then was just enough to get you by. That's it. They weren't teaching me anything. Matter of fact, I wasn't being taught at all. My parents couldn't teach me fucking shit. Everything that I learned, and I am proud of this, was through the library. I also did a journalism class that hooked me up with a lady named Gloria. I'm blanking her last name at this moment, who was the editor-in-chief of Blaine Briefs. And I ended up working for her for a couple of years, and then off and on through assignments for a couple of years afterwards. And my job was to write news articles. I pissed off so many people in that little town, Blaine, Washington, including the chief of police, when I reminded chief of police that as a member of the press and showing you my press pass, I was entitled to the crime report for the following week, and for him to deny it was actually against the law, and be happy to call the Attorney General of the state of Washington if he didn't want to comply. You can imagine how well that went over. Little 14-year-old telling his big old bad officer what the fuck was up. I got that police report. I was good. Jumped into the Army as soon as I could. A lot of you know that during my high school thing, I actually did really good in grades. Really good. But again, I also recognize it was the bare minimum now. It's not the same education that other kids were getting in regular high schools. So I go into the Army, and one day in basic training, I am pulled out of the field. Matter of fact, I'll never forget, this was out on bivouac. And bivouac was 2 weeks out in the White Sands Desert, last week of July, first week of August. You can imagine how fucked up that was. And I was out of the field for 2 days. One day because of heat stroke, one day because of what I'm about to tell you. My drill sergeant and senior drill sergeant come up to me and go, "Hey, come with us." Sure, yes. What's up? They wouldn't tell me shit until we got back to the base, which was about an hour drive. And then I found out that the military didn't recognize my high school diploma. So, because of new policies that had just been passed, I had to pass the GED. Right there, right then, on the spot. Proud to say I passed it. Matter of fact, I was so proud of myself, that's when I tried to go full-time in the Army. The Guard wouldn't let me, though. When I talk about being in the Army, I was actually part of the National Guard. But it was still Army, and I still actually had every intent to go full-time. Fast forward, I'm out of the military. That's a whole different story. I'm out of the military. I do this business college to get a accredited diploma, basically. It's the equivalent of an AA for business office administration. And I got to take a couple specialty classes in marketing and management. The quality of this school wasn't that great. Did I know that then? No. Do I know now? Yeah, oh yeah. Because about 2 years after I graduated, the school went bankrupt. And of course, when it went bankrupt, it took in all of the student financial aid and stuff like that, which included what I had earned to the military. And I didn't find out about this until about 4 or 5 years after the final cap of year that you had to claim that you were a student there to get any type of refund or anything like that. So, jump ahead now. I am 40. And I decided, hey, maybe I got the spoons. Maybe I got this. I can go back to college. Maybe get a degree, right? So I worked on my associate's degree for history. And my first 4 semesters, I did really good. Straight A's. Not straight A's. I had 1 or 2 B's. Everything else was straight A's. Exemplary A student. I really thrived in it. And then I had to start taking my math classes. Now, flunked out. Actually, it's not called flunking out. It's called being put on academic probation, which cuts off all your funding and stuff like that. So, yeah. The thing of it is I realize now how many gaps I have. And while I know I am smart and intelligent, I know I have a picture of a group of friends that around that table is no less than 5 master's degree candidates. Excuse me, I'm saying that wrong. Between the 5 of us that was sitting at the table, 5 master's degrees. One is about to be a 6th. The least educated person at that table, aside from me, was still a bachelor working and getting ready to go on to their master's in computer programming. I did really well in that type of group, actually. One of the strongest compliments I ever got was by a guy named John Mayer, who was shocked when he found out that I wasn't a master's or even a doctorate. He thought I was at least a master's, if not PhD. So I know that I'm smart, but I have these huge gaps. It's why I'm good at what I do in IT, but can't figure out a fucking phone. It really is like that. So today I'm having a really hard time struggling. And I'm having a hard time struggling is because the market has only got more and more competitive over the years. And we're at a point in an inflection, and I think we have been for a few years now, to be honest, where I'm not good enough to cut it. That's one of the reasons why I'm diving so deep into AI, because AI is helping me things. Now, a lot of people, and I'm just do a short rant on AI, and then I'll get back to the story. A lot of people think AI is just this, oh, you just put something in and ignore it, copy what comes out. And that's how most people use it. Unfortunately, they're missing out on so much, because AI is like, if you treat it such, is like a personal mentor that helps you find the gaps and then how to get past those gaps. And in that regard, I'm doing well. But then it also leads into problems like now. I'm using a piece of software called Comfy UI. The UI, in case you didn't know, stands for user interface. And it is a user interface for JavaScript and Python languages. I just now figured that out. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I'm using a tool that I have no experience of what's behind that tool, that builds that tool, that allows you to do that. All of this is great and dandy, except that's not enough for an employer. And it's getting to the point that I don't know if I can even find and feeling like I can even find entry-level stuff to my stuff. Don't want to go back to business. I got to a point that I am I am ethically challenged about businesses and corporations, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're C tier, CFO, CEO, you're golden. You're golden for life. I don't care how much you fuck up as at the C level, you will always land on your feet and get another job because of your experience and because of your exposure. B level tier is where the most hope for anybody is. And we're talking business, corporations, etc. That would be like your assistant vice presidents, your assistant directors, stuff like that. And the reason why is because you too will probably land on your feet. And I say probably because there's only two ways you're going to advance at a B level. And I don't even know if that's the correct level. It's what I call it. And that is, somebody dies up in the C level and you take over their spot. Or you get paid more money to do exactly what you're doing now, but you do it for another company. That's B level. The hardest moment of my life was when I was up to become B level. And it got taken from me because of lies. A lot of you already know that story. Then there's A level. That's where I was. That's your team management, your team leads, your general managers of retail stores, that type of stuff. And let me tell you, that don't mean shit. Dime a dozen. So I'm at a point in my life, and have been for years. That's why I dropped out of sales and business and went into IT, because I have a very ethical problem against corporations and how that thing. Because so many people are lied to. Oh, work hard, be good at what you do, blah blah blah. Fucking bullshit. Fucking bullshit. So going back into business and stuff like that, not speaking for like on business for yourself, but business for making a buck for a corporation, I ethically have issues with that. I'll do it, but I'm very, very bitter about it. IT is still a thing for entry level stuff, which is all fine and dandy, but entry level things I've discovered is a dime a dozen. And then there's the thing where my education comes back to haunt me. I don't have any certifications. Certifications cost money. It's a gatekeeping mechanism to keep people who don't have the money away from the higher paying jobs. I learned how to assemble and deassemble a laptop to fix anything in that thing. I was good at it until my arthritis hit, and then I went into the help desk, went into that form of IT of stuff, and the more I'm in it, I'm in 8 years now in this career, I'm finding I really don't know shit. I know some specific things, but I don't have the broader general knowledge. And this is very frustrating, at least to me, because I'm a generalist. I'm not a specialist in anything. I'm a generalist. So being a generalist, but your skill sets are all for specialty, but you don't know the background of that specialty. I use that user interface I was just telling you about a couple minutes ago as a great example of that. Now I'm going to just bitch because I'm an old man, but at this point in my life, I do not feel I can compete with shit. And that's why I'm in the funk that I'm in. I do have some good news that I do want to share. I am more cognizant and mentally aware right now, and actually this week, than I have been in years. The cloud that was up in my head over the last couple of days has kind of dissipated. My foggy thinking, not that foggy thinking, but that foggy head sense, don't really get that anymore. But I am back to being able to do multitasking. I am back to being able to compartmentalize this, and this. All signs of a great generalist. So, on the good news is that I feel like my intelligence is coming back. Because I think something happened between my heart attack and my heart surgery that fucked some things up. But I'm getting back. Last thing I'm going to brag about. And this is, I'm going to brag about my smarts. Once the internet came around and I was on it at the age of 23. Yeah, 23. Every year I take an IQ test online. Every year I qualify for Mensa. Until 36. When I was 36, I missed Genius by 1 point. Haven't taken IQ test since, because one of the things I do know is that the older you get, the lower your IQ goes. There's a couple rare exceptions to that in the world that's ever happened, but that's people like Albert Einstein, people like Stephen Hawking, probably that Tyson guy too. I'm not at that level. Anyway, that's what's going on with me in my head. Thank you for letting me spend this 20 minutes as I see the timer on this, explain this to you. I'm going to send this to Shama first, and then the rest of the Leather family gets to see this. I'm also going to include a very close, who's becoming a good friend of mine, Tom. If any of you got anything to comment on it, I'd be happy to hear it. Please don't do the bullshit. Oh, Sam, you're smart. You'll be fine. You can land it. Don't give me that type of bullshit. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate that you believe in me. But realistically, I'm at a dead end.